All right, so we are going to learn how to use the determinant to find the area of a triangle, figure out if points are collinear, and solve systems of equations both 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. So we start with the area of a triangle. If you are given 3 coordinates or the end points, or so the vertices of a triangle, and the question says find the area of a triangle formed by these coordinates, then you can actually find the area using a determinant. So you will list the x and y coordinates. There's going to be 3 of them, so you do x, y, x, y, x, y. And then you fill the last column with 1s. We would then find the determinant of that, so it will end up being a 3 by 3. You'll find the determinant of it, which is the one where we duplicate the columns to the right and you do the diagonals. There's going to be a whole lot of that today, okay? You find the determinant of the 3 by 3, and then you multiply it by half or divide by 2. And that's the area. If what you get ends up being negative, you just change it to positive. If it's positive, you keep it positive. But obviously, area has to be a positive number. It's not going to be negative. So your answer here will always be positive. So we're going to do the 3 by 3 determinant. You're going to cut it in half, and you're going to change its sign if it's negative. All right, so a question like that would be this. Find the area of the figure with the given vertices. So it's giving you the 3 coordinate points, okay? You're going to list these, and the order of what row it goes in doesn't matter. I just tend to go with the first one first and second one second. But the -2 has to be next to the 4. The 2 has to be next to the 3. The -1 has to be next to the 5. Again, the order there, row-wise, can switch. And then we fill the last column with 1s. And then we find the determinant. So we duplicate the first 2 columns, -2, 2, -1, 4, 3, 5. And we do the diagonals top left, bottom right first. So we multiply down the diagonal. I would get -2 times 3 times 1 plus 4 times 1 times -1 plus 1 times 2 times 5. I get -6 minus 4 plus 10, -10 plus 10, which is 0. Then I go back the other way. Top right, bottom left, and I multiply those. So 1 times 3 times -1 plus -2 times 1 times 5 plus 4 times 2 times 1. -3 minus 10 plus 8, -13 plus 8, -5. And then it is the purple minus the blue, so 0 minus a -5, which becomes 5. That's the determinant. We multiply it by a half. So a half times 5, you can either write as 5/2, or it could be 2.5, or it could be 2.5. Any of those answers would be fine. If by chance it had been negative, we just change its sign to positive. So the area has to be positive. If it added units, you could say units squared. I'm not going to mark you wrong if you don't have it. Just know that that's what it would be. Questions? Easy stuff, right? We know how to do the determinant. You just got to remember the 1/2. I think, like, when I remember it, I think the area is 1/2 base times height, so that 1/2 kind of gets applied to that. All right. Now, this is not a triangle, right? What is this?
So would the area just be the determinant here?
So, yes. So you could look at it that way. You could either say, I'm going to take and split this into 2. This is a parallelogram. If I split it into 2, it is 2 equal triangles. So I can either find the area of one of them and then double it, or because we do a half at the end, we just can avoid doing the half at the end, okay? So pick, and it won't matter which one because, again, this would be 2 congruent ones. Pick 3 points. It can be these 3. Or I could cut it back the other way and do those 3. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to do -3, 2, 1, 2, and -1, -4.
So you're doing the top one?
I'm doing the top 2. Yeah, like the right. I'm going to do this one. But again, you could do the bottom one. Or you could draw the diagonal going the other way. Now fill the last column with 1s. Duplicate my first 2 columns. Draw the diagonals to the top left, bottom right first. So -3 times 2 times 1 plus 2 times 1 times negative 1 plus 1 times 1 times negative 4. I get negative 6 minus 2 minus 4.
Is it negative 4? Or yes?
Yeah. So negative 8 minus 4, negative 12. And then I go back the other way. Negative 1, 2, 1 plus negative 4, 1, negative 3 plus 1, 1, 2. Negative 2 plus 12 plus 2, 10 plus 2, which is 12. And then it's negative 12 minus 12, which is negative 24. Because it's area, I make it positive. Even if it's negative, you just change it so it's positive. If I wanted the area of just that highlighted triangle, I would then cut it in half. I'd multiply it by half. I'd end up with 12. But technically, there's 2 of them, so I can save myself the work of cutting it in half and then doubling it and just say that the area here would be 24. And it would be unit squared if they gave me a unit.
Why did you do negative? Oh, okay, because you did the top minus.
It's the purple ones minus the blue ones.
So then, and then you just make it positive.
And then you just change it to be positive if it's negative. Okay, second test is to see if the points are collinear. What does collinear mean? Line the same line. So if they are collinear, they cannot form a triangle. If you think about it, they would be a flat line. There would be no area. So the rule is if you find the determinant using the coordinate points the same way we just did, and my answer is 0, then they are collinear. There would be no area, okay? So if the answer is 0, then they are collinear. Now this question on your test is going to say determine if they're collinear, and it's going to say use the determinant to, because you could just plot these points and see if they're collinear. That's not going to get you the credit. You could do that to check to see if you're on the right track, but the work is what's going to get you the credit. So you will rewrite out your 3 points. You'll do your column of ones to the right. You'll find the determinant. If it's 0, they are collinear. If it's not 0, they are not. Example 2. Actually, this should be 3. Determine whether the points negative 2, 2, 7, 5, and 1, 1 are collinear. So negative 2, 7, 5, 1, 1, column of ones. And then we duplicate the first 2 columns. We diagonal top left, bottom right. Negative 2 times 5 times 1 plus negative 2 times 1 times 1 plus 1 times 7 times 1. Negative 10 minus 2 plus 7. Negative 5. And then I go back the other way. 1 times 5 times 1 plus 1 times negative 2 plus 1 times 7 times negative 2. 5 minus 2 minus 14. 3 minus 14, which is negative 11. And negative 5 minus the negative 11 is 6. 6 does not equal 0. So these are not collinear. If you just roughly plotted these points, negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 1. They might even look like they're a little collinear, but if you plot them exact on a coordinate grid, you're going to not be able to connect those 3.
Still have to divide by 2 if they were just asking for the.
No, for collinear, you just leave it. If it's 0, if you divide by 2, it's going to stay 0. And if it's not 0 and you divide by 2, it's going to not stay 0. So you don't have to, you're not finding the area, you're just seeing if the determinant is 0. Questions on that one? Okay, and then the third thing is called Cramer's rule, and this is the last method we are going to learn to solve systems of equation. We're going to use Cramer's rule to solve a 2 by 2, and we're going to use Cramer's rule to solve a 3 by 3. So Cramer's rule, and it looks super confusing, I promise you it is not that bad, is basically doing the determinant. If you're doing it for a 2 by 2, you're going to do it 3 times. If you're doing it for a 3 variable equation, you have to do the determinant 4 times, okay? So the way you do for a 2 variable equation, so x and y, is you're going to, and I'm going to rewrite it because I think it's a little bit easier to understand, and hopefully if it makes sense, good. If it doesn't, you'll see it when we work it out. You're going to use the determinant first. So if I have x plus y equals whatever the number is, and then x plus y equals whatever the number is, the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this into a matrix. So it'd be the x's, it'd be the y's, and it'd be the c I'm going to use for constants. So if I rewrote my systems of equation into a matrix, it would look like this. So both x's, the y's, and the column, and then the constants would be the last one. And I'm going to do the determinant. Again, we do it 3 times for systems of equation with 2 variables. The first is to find, we call it d sub x. I will eventually just call it dx, okay? And to find dx, actually, let me start with d by itself because I think it makes more sense. To find d, I'm going to do the determinant of the x's and the y's. So I use the first 2 columns, and I find just d. Then I have to find dx, and to do that, I take out the x's. So wherever the x's are, which is in the first column, I take those out and I replace them with the constants. So I do the constants and the y's. So from here, I would pull out the x's and put in the c's in its place, okay?
But the determinant would just be 1 and 2.
Now then we go back and do the fish on each of these. Yeah. Then I would do d sub y, and to do that, I pull from the original, I remove the y's, and I replace it with the constants. So I would have the x's and the constants. The order is important. These x's have to be replaced with c's in the column where the x's were. So you can't like shift the y's over and put the c's here. It has to be this way. Same for here. If you compare it to the original, I take out the y's and I put the c's in its place. So whichever one you're finding is the one you're replacing with the constants. That's going to give me 3 numbers because I'm going to do the determinant for each of these. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to do the fish here, I'm going to do the fish here, I'm going to do the fish here, and I'm going to get 3 numbers. D is going to equal a number, dx is going to equal a number, and dy is going to equal a number. And then to get x, I put dx over d. To get y, I put dy over d. And my answer is going to be my x, y combo.
And we get the d by solving
The x's and the y's. Yep. Okay, we're going to use Cramer's rule to solve the system. So the first thing we're going to do is rewrite the matrix. 2, -3, -11, 1, 2, 12. And obviously do that carefully because if you mess that up, everything from here on out is wrong. God bless you. Now I'm going to find D first, which is the X's and the Y's. So 2, -3, 1, 2. I'm going to come back and find that determinant.
You put the x's over each other.
Yep, so the first 2 columns is what would be D. Then dx, I take out the first column, so I take out the x's and I replace it with the constants. -11, 12, -3, 2 are the y's. Those stay. And then the last one, dy, I keep the x's from the original one, and I replace where the y's were, I put the constants. So again, whichever little letter, the bottom of the D, whatever that is, that's the one you want to replace.
So the constants would move, because like in dx, the constants are first.
Correct. They go where the original column was. Yep. Okay, and then we do the fish. So I would do 2 times 2 minus 1 times -3, 4 minus a -3 becomes 4 plus 3 or 7. That's D. Then I do the fish again. So 2 times -11 minus 12 times -3, -22 minus a -36 becomes positive 14. And then I do the fish again. 12 times 2 minus 1 times negative 11. 24 minus a negative 11 becomes 35. Then my x is dx over d, so it's 14 over 7, which is 2. And my y is dy over d, 35 over 7, which is 5.
On the test, will it like give us a whole number?
I mean, as of now, I think all the versions I have so far, yes.
So make up no.
Oh, I didn't. I'm just saying. I didn't even finalize all of the regular ones, but my goal would be yes.
We have to memorize some of these.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna practice it, and this is well, not yet. Something we're about to do would be what the video quiz could be. So hopefully that like drives it home.
Like the
No, the 3 one. You'll see in a moment. Oh, you're gonna earn a quiz grade. All right, you do. All right, so you should have gotten 1, negative 2, right? The D was 3 over the 2 next, and well, I'll go left, right. 3, 2, 2, negative 4. Determinant from that was negative 16. Dx was negative 1, 2, 10, negative 4. Determinant from that, negative 16. Dy, 3, negative 1, 2, 10. Determinant from that, 32. And then the negative 16 went over negative 16, that's 1. 32 over negative 16, and that's negative 2. Raise your hand if you got it right. Good. Questions? Okay, now the fun really begins. So it's a 3-variable equation. It is exactly the same process, except that each time you're doing it, you're ending up with a 3 by 3 determinant. So it's going to be the duplicate of the first 2 columns, the dashes, subtract. And then you're going to do that 4 times. So the process goes, find D, right? So first I rewrite my matrix. It's going to be all the X's, it's going to be all the Y's, it's going to be all the Z's, and all the constants. That's obviously step 1. Then your D is X, Y's, Z's. This will be a 3 by 3 matrix. Dx, we take out the X's and replace them with the constants. So it's the constants, then the Y's, then the Z's.
You take out what?
The X's. So whatever name is you're trying to find, that's what you swap out for the constants. So if I'm finding dx, I replace the X's. dy, we would take out the Y's. So the X's will stay, the Y's get replaced with the constants, the Z's would stay. And
The arrows
like I'm just not rewriting every row, but it's all the X's, all the Y's, and all the Z's, yeah. And then dz, I would leave the X's, I would leave the Y's, and I would replace the Z's with the constants. Yeah? Nope. Okay, so then to get the X, I do dx over d. To get the Y, I do dy over d. To get the Z, I do dz over d.
So we're just adding an extra step from the one before.
You're adding an extra determinant, and then each determinant just takes longer because they're 3 by 3s instead of the fish. Yeah, that's where it is. That's where it gets you.
How would you find the determinant?
You have to duplicate the first 2 columns, and you do the dashes and the dashes.
It's the first thing we did for this.
Yep, the thing we did for area and the thing we did for collinear.
I thought
It's not
we found a determinant for 3 by. Oh yeah. Don't we just rewrite the row? Don't we just rewrite
The columns.
Or we do the new one?
As the original way we learned it was just to rewrite the first. That's what she
That's what we did.
Oh, I thought you wanted to do the one where you add the ones.
No. Like the original, because you'll have three. You won't have a space to put the ones. If you think about it, when we did the things that we did at the beginning, they were for coordinate points. You only had an X, Y, so you had to add in a third column. These, you will have 3 full columns.
So you can rewrite the first two.
Correct. All right, so if I was to do the video quiz, which will be an optional 4th quiz if you need to drop a quiz, and everybody has to do it. But if you were to do it, this is the question you will get. Not obviously this question, this type of question, okay? It will say, solve the system using Cramer's rule, and then you will basically walk through the process that I'm about to walk through on a video. So the first step is rewrite your matrix. So I get -2, I should probably do it in a color you can see, -2, 1, there is no Z in that first row, so I get a 0Z, so that's a 0, and then 1 for the constant. Second row, 1, -1, -2, 2. Third row, 3, 1, again, there's no Z, so 0, and then 6. Probably your most important step, because if you rewrite it wrong, you'll use it wrong every time. Okay, now I'm going to find D, which is the X's, the Y's, and the Z's, the first 3 columns. -2, 1, 0, 1, -1, -2, 3, 1, 0. So all the X's, all the Y's, and all the Z's. And I'm going to come back and do the determinant. So I'm just going to set them all up first, and then I'm going to come back and do it. I'm going to do dx. So for the dx, I come back to this first one. I take out the x's and replace them with the constants. So my first column will be the constants. And then the next 2 columns will remain the y's and the z's. So if you need to like give yourself a little label on each of those columns, do it. Do whatever it is you need to do to remind you what goes there. Again, I'm going to come back and do the determinant. So then I go dy. Yep.
So it doesn't matter, like, let's say on dx, if you switch y and z.
It does matter. It does matter. It has to go in the order. The only thing that can change is the column of the letter you're trying to find needs to get replaced with the constants. You're welcome. Okay, so dy, I'm going to leave the x's, so the x's and the constants and the z's. So -2, 1, 3. The constants are 1, 2, 6, and the z's 0, -2, 0. And then dz, the x's, the y's, and the constants. So -2, 1, 3, 1, -1, 1, and the constants 1, 2, 6.
This is gonna be
So fun, right? That's what you were going to say at the end there? No? Oh. Okay. I'm going to go back and do the determinant. So we're going to do it 4 times. Add in the area and the collinear, and you're doing a 3 by 3 6 times on this test.
So are we still gonna get like a regular question?
No.
For the determinant?
No. You'll see it in area, you'll see it collinear, and you'll see it in this one.
That's it?
Well, now I got to do it, right?
Quiz stuff.
Oh, for the test? No, all the other stuff. Okay, so I duplicate the first 2 columns. To the right, I'm going to multiply down, top left, bottom right first. So -2, -1, 0. Then 1, -2, 3. Then 0, 1, 1. Now the zeros should make it easy, but in some way that's like where the people make the most mistakes is they like forget that the 0 would cancel everything out. So be careful there, okay? -2 times -1 times 0 is 0. Plus -1 times +1 times -2 is -2 times 3, which is -6. Plus 0. So this is -6. Then I go back the other way.
Isn't it negative times? Wait,
That's a 3, not a 5, if that's what you mean.
I don't,
You find it?
is it 4?
Hmm.
Is that a 4?
There's no 4. Anywhere on this page, there's a 4.
2 times 2 is 4.
Where do you have 2 times 2, though?
On the blue line?
Oh, I'm not to the blue yet. I didn't do the blue yet.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I thought you were good.
I was like, there's not even a 4 on this page. That's okay. Plus -2, -2, 1, plus 1, 1, 0. Okay, so 0, that's your positive 4, and plus 0, this is 4. So now it's -6 minus 4, which is -10. That's D. So as far as point values go for your test, each of these will earn you separate point values. So if you get D right, but you get D of X wrong, like I'm not going to slaughter you. You'll get part of the points. All right, D of X. Duplicate the first 2 columns. -10. Top left. Ooh, I didn't mean to erase. Top left. Hello. Bottom right. -1, positive 1 times -1 times 0 plus 1 times -2 times 6 plus 0 times 2 times 1. 0 minus 12 plus 0, -12. Go back the other way. For the blue ones, yeah. Go back the other way. 0, -1, 6 plus 1, -2, 1. Not 6, 0. Plus 0, 2, 1. So 0 minus 2 plus 0, -2. I get -12 minus a -2, which is -10, and that's your dx. So I will tell you right now that your answers to these questions for your test will be whole numbers when you put D of X over D. So I would all ready to check to make sure that that number can be put over my first number and it will give me a whole number. That's a first check. Yes.
What was the again?
-10.
Don't you also? Oh.
Okay, then I go D of Y. Duplicate my first 2 columns. -2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 6. Diagonal down. -2, 2, 0. Plus 1, -2, 3. Plus 0, 1, 6. 0 minus 6 plus 0, -6. Go back the other way. 0, 2, 3, plus -2, -2, 6, plus 0, 1, 1. So 0, this would be 4 times 6, 24, plus 0, 24. And I do -6 minus 24, which is -30. That's my dy. Again, make sure that's divisible by d and gives you a whole number because that's what would happen on your test. I don't think all the answers on the homework are like that, but test it would be. And last, D of Z. -2, 1, 3, 1, -1, 1, 1, 2, 6. Why did I do the third column? Went too far.
Was it good for your y?
-30. Okay, and then top left, bottom right. -2, -1, 6, plus 1, 2, 3, plus 1, 1, 1. So negative, this would be +2 times 6, which is 12, plus 6, plus 1, 18 plus 1 are 19. Go back the other way. 1, -1, 3. God bless you. 1, 2, -2, 6, 1, 1. -3, minus 4, plus 6, -7 plus 6, which is -1. And I get 19 minus a -1, which is 20. That's DZ.
And then we just put them over D.
And then each of them go over D. So X would be D of X, -10 over D, -10, that's 1. Y would be D of Y, -30 over D, that's -10, that's 3. Z, God bless you, would be 20 over negative 10. That's negative 2.
What was
DZ is positive 20. So start to finish, that would be that video quiz. So you'll get a systems of equation with 3 variables, 3 equations, and it will tell you to use Cramer's rule to solve it, and you'll walk through that whole process. I am going to open that video quiz today. Yeah, in case you want to do it over the weekend, but it won't be due until Wednesday. So if you want to wait till you come back, you can. Just realize that this is super good for review because that's going to be on your test. Okay, so first of all, what I'm about to show you is not due until Thursday of next week. I did have the request for people to get it open soon so that they could spend the time over the weekend doing it instead of on top of what they have to do next week. So that's why I opened it. If you are not ready to do this before Tuesday, then do not do it before Tuesday, okay? I would say you need to be ready to do it before Wednesday because it's on your test. But the actual stress of the video creation itself does not need to happen before Tuesday, okay? So there are 2 things. One is underneath the practice quizzes. Oh, I just clicked on quizzes. That's going to take me back to the top. Yep. Underneath the practice quizzes, don't click. Where did you go? Here. It says 218 NG3 Cramer's Rule Quiz Practice Submission. It is exactly that. It gives you the instructions. You're going to screenshot the question, bring it into an app that allows you to record audio and annotations, solve the system using Cramer's rule, export the video to your camera roll, and then submit it to the question using that little icon button. So I'll take it like like a student view. Okay, here's my question. I would screenshot this question. I would then take this into Doceri. For me is the neatest. I know it's a little bit complicated if you've never used it before, but I'll show you again on Tuesday how to use it. But the good thing of Doceri is you can write it all out, then rewind it and play it back while you describe your steps. So it tends to be a little bit neater. If you want to do it on Notability using screen record, that's okay too. Just remember there's no pause there. So if you make a mistake, don't fumble through it. Just say, oops, I caught my mistake and correct it, okay? Don't curse, yell at a parent, any of that stuff, because then you're going to have to take it in iMovie and splice it out, okay? So if you're going to, I would recommend, like I said, I would recommend Doceri just because I think that it's neater, but you don't have to. You could also take a piece of paper and a pencil and a camera and record yourself doing it. I don't care how you do it, okay? Just get a video with audio. So you would screenshot it, you would work it out, and then you're going to come back here and you're going to go to the little media, which is looks like a play button with the music, and you're going to upload or record media. You're going to tap on this screen, you're going to say photo library, and you're going to pull your video from the photo library. Yes. Yeah. Make sure you have enough time to complete your video and upload your video. So I'm giving you 45 minutes, which is way more time than you need. We did that problem in probably 7 minutes. I don't want your video to be longer than 7 minutes. But I'm giving you time to screenshot your problem, Google your answer if you want to. I don't care, right? Figure out what the answer would be. Then get a piece of paper, practice from start to finish your Cramer's rule so you know that it's right, and then start to record your video, okay? Recording your video, export your video, upload it to the question. When it uploads, you have to wait. I'm just going to grab this very sad video, but I'm going to upload this one so that you can see it's saying choose video, and then it compresses, and then it spins in this. If it is still spinning when you hit submit, that video did not save. It has to stop spinning, and you have to see your video in this screen, and then you hit submit. Then it has to be visible in that square. It will spin until it loads in that square, and you will eventually see it in that square. Once it is in that square, then you hit submit on this quiz, okay? It is not there until you see it loaded. So if I hit submit now, or my time runs out because I called 7 friends to explain to me how to do the problem before I tried to actually do it myself, and it's not visible like that, and I hit submit, Mrs. Chrisweiser got no video. And she's going to tell you, I'm very sorry, but especially because this is an optional quiz, it's on you. You have to make sure it submits, and it has to be within that time frame. So do it fast. Do not wait until, I would say to have it done by 30 minutes, and then you can have all that extra time at the end to make sure it gets submitted, okay? Do not wait until 5 minutes before that time is up and expect to be able to download it, upload it into that box. It won't happen. The longer the video, the longer it takes. That was a 1 minute video, and you saw it took a couple of seconds for it to load. Questions on that process? Okay, so I put a practice one on there for you to literally practice. The actual quiz submission says the words quiz submission, and then I put it in big highlighted letters. This is your actual submission. Do not click this as practice. So if you hit start, that's it. You're in the actual video quiz. There will be no practice. Do we understand? Okay? Still gonna happen. And I want you to remember this moment right now, because this is when I don't feel bad, because I say, it's like I literally highlighted it. It says this is the actual one. Don't start it. Somebody's still going to start it. Questions? Are we clear? Due Thursday. So if you wanted to wait till next week to do it, that's fine. If you know you want to get it off your to-do list this weekend, it is also fine. If you want some pointers on Doceri, we could do that on Tuesday. Okay? But your homework for 7-8 is due on Tuesday. It's like one of each kind. I think there's 5 problems.